Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video here with me, Michelle at the Book Orchard. So I know this video is coming in a little late. It's 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 like the beginning of June. I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd today. And I am a little late with my kind of wrap up of my June books, my part 2 of this, just because I can't get them all in one video. I've been reading so much, although I'm not gonna lie, like stress has just taken a toll on me this last 2 weeks. South Africa, COVID numbers have gotten quite high. It's affected my business, like safety of, my staff, my clients. So like that part of my life I've kind of shut down for a week to kind of just take a break from there. And because of it, I think my reading, I've ended up in a bit of a reading slump, not because of what I'm reading, but just because of the funk that's going on in my head and my brain. But I had to jump in. I had to chat to you guys about some of the books that I've been reading, or at least that I read in the second half of June. And I'm going to dive right in by saying Percy Jackson, the 3rd book in the series, The Titan's Curse. This was fun. I really enjoyed this one. I felt like the second one was a little bit of a filler, which is like it had second book syndrome, middle book syndrome, actually. Like when you read a trilogy, like say sometimes the second book feels like stuff is happening but nothing's really happening and it's stagnant, and this certainly did not this is number 3 in a 5-book series, so it doesn't really apply. But the second book, I felt like although stuff was happening, it was kind of stagnant, not a lot moved with the plot. More moved with the plot. I love this. I loved how the characters are starting to really grow up here. You're starting to see like a little bit more of a romance happening between Percy and Annabeth, and I like the introduction of some of the new characters. There was far more substance and stuff happening, and for a middle grade series there was far more growth and development and more maturity in this, which I kind of enjoyed as well. And you're probably going to say to me, then why am I reading a middle grade book? Because I haven't read it yet and I really wanted to, and I found it really fun. I enjoyed how the relationship between Percy and his mom has kind of developed to this point where he's more sure of himself in this book. Stuff was happening, but he was far more sure of himself. He had a far more settled feeling about him and who he is and how everybody kind of came into play. You definitely had a few developments with some of the other characters, but with the plot overall, I really enjoyed how it turned out in this. I felt like it ended really well. It almost ended at this point where the stuff in the book kind of ended really well, and I'm saying again, it all sort of culminated really nicely at the end while leaving it very far open. It's kind of like climbing a mountain and seeing this massive sea they're still gonna go on, and it was really fun, really fun. So I enjoyed that one. And then I'm going to dive straight into the next book that I read, which was Fountains of Silence by Rita Sepetys. Now, I have never read a book by her. I don't know if this is the normal way she writes, but what I absolutely loved with her style of writing is incredible. Her chapters are short. It's one of the things growing up, I absolutely loved James Patterson, and one of my biggest things was that the chapters were quite short and it flows and keeps you going. And I love the way this does that. Like she keeps everything flowing and going, and the chapters are short, but there's enough information in it, and you just completely felt sucked in. But not just because you were living in that time, but because you could experience what they're experiencing and feel those feelings. And it literally felt like a historical movie happening in front of me, which I absolutely love when I read a book and that feels like that. And I lost what I was saying, but which tends to happen a lot with me. I kind of go around the boat. Anybody that knows me, like, oh my gosh, I tend to get a bit lost. But what I really loved is that at the end of, like, not every chapter, but sometimes every second, third chapter, she would put snippets in from like historical oral interviews that had been done, or snippets out of magazines or news articles or letters that had been written, with regards to where the facts came from, or like, hey, listen, this is actually the background of where I got this, And what was absolutely phenomenal about this, so first let me tell you, it is about, I didn't know this, I don't know how many people knew this, but like I've chatted to one or two people and it's kind of like, what? We know Cuba, you know, it was under a dictatorship at some point, but I did not know Spain was under a dictatorship with Francisco Franco. And this is based in Madrid in 1957. They're under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. And then you've got Francisco basically opens up the country so that the Americans can come in and some of them can try and get like oil contracts and things like that. And Daniel is the son of a very wealthy oil tycoon that comes to Spain, and his mom is Spanish, and he has an absolute passion for photography and taking photos. And he starts doing this, and he ends up befriending one of the girls that works at the hotel that he's staying at, and her, Anna, there we go, her name just went over my head again, like all these names, but anyway, Anna, and he befriends Anna, and this relationship that develops, Anna is very literally, as you read it, it's so present, you can't miss it. She is literally, she's oppressed, she's had a past with some stuff that's obviously happened to her and her family, and she's got to move forward very delicately, just because she's like, whoa, I'm keeping her at arm's length to keep myself and my family safe. And Daniel's like, what's going on here? So they develop this incredibly beautiful friendship, and he gets his eyes opened to what is actually happening in Spain during this period. And he starts taking photographs, and he ends up becoming friends with like a few other local people that open his eyes even more. And it is just astronomical to see and read. The photography element that was brought into this was so beautifully used to illustrate visually what was happening and how people felt, and all of the goings on, and how you had the Guardia Civil, which is obviously, I mean, in any dictatorship, this is not a spoiler, because any dictatorship, you've got the army, or you've got cops, or, you know, the Guardia Civil, who are in there oppressing the people on the ground doing those things, you know. And it was incredible how he captured things, and captured the children of the time and the old people of the time, and just the essence, you know. Oh gosh, it was just astronomically beautiful how this all came together. It was heartbreaking at the end. Some of the things that were highlighted and brought to the fore in this book, I did not know. And afterwards, like, I read her details at the back as to where she did her research, and I did some of my own research. And, you know, I looked at this monument that was built in Spain, and some of the facts in here as a mother, like, blew my mind. I was so shaken by this tale. It was phenomenal. Like, I cannot explain to you. How do I explain this? As a mom, I was just completely shaken by this tale. I don't know how to say it other than that. And if you have children and you love historical fiction, oh my gosh, read this. It is such a window into a space in time in Spain when all this was going on, and the way it was written was just, I loved her writing. I've ordered one of her other books, which I see everywhere, Salt to the Sea, and I really want to read that. But I love how she just dives in there and gets in the nitty gritty with stories that we don't really know about, and kind of I did not only walk away feeling like I read the most incredible book, and this had really touched my heart and it stuck with me, but I literally felt like I walked away smarter, having learned a story I knew nothing about. So the other trilogy I read this month is the Ash Princess Trilogy by Laura Sebastian, and there are 3 books. Obviously it's a trilogy, but there are 3 books. You got the Ash Princess, you have got Lady Smoke, and then you have the Ember Queen. Now, I absolutely love paperbacks that are like floppy. Like, this is one of my favorites because they're just so nice to hold and so nice to read. And the covers were just so beautiful, they called me in, so I had to read them. And I absolutely love the story around what was going on here as well. You've got Theo, who is the daughter of what was the Queen of Astria, and you have the Calavaxians. Now, what the Calavaxians do basically is they go from country to country, they lay a siege, they take over the country, make the people their slaves until they kind of ruin the country, and then they move on to the next one. And that is what they've done here. They've taken over Austria. The king, you know, the Kaiser, it kind of has this, like, I mean, Kaiser makes me think of Russia, but anyway. But yeah, they've taken over this country. Austria is a matriarchy, which basically means you always have a female ruler, the queen. And Thea is the daughter of the queen. Her mom gets killed, and she, for the next 10 years of her life, from the age of 6 to 16, ends up oppressed. And she gets named the Ash Princess because she's a princess of nothing. There's nothing left of Austria as far as they're concerned. Calabaxians have obviously taken over, and she is, every time there's like an uprising, she gets punished for it, and she is literally there as a prisoner in her own palace. And it's interesting because she starts up as a young girl with no hope, trying to just kind of make her way and survive. And obviously stuff happens, and she's kind of got to break out of that prisoner zone in her head into somewhat of a princess and try and fight for her people and fight for her country. And I really enjoyed the characters in here. I felt it was very diverse. You got I love big gentle, gentle giants, and you definitely have one in here, so that was fun. The love interest, it looks to be like a bit of a love triangle that kind of goes on here, and it was so much fun with the way sometimes love triangles can be so frustrating, but in here it was done so beautifully. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I didn't know who I was really rooting for, so that was interesting. And then kind of things moved along, obviously, to Lady Smoke. And this one, she is not even in her own country anymore. She's whipped away. And so often you get a trilogy and you're, is the middle book going to have second book syndrome or not? This one did not. I felt like this was a real solid, like, installments into the trilogy. And the development that goes through here, there was, again, political intrigue, didn't really involve any of the people that she's fighting with over here. And that's anyway. But what I loved about this is that she kind of has to step away, gather her strength, and develop into who she needs to be. And my gosh, did this delivered in every aspect. That love triangle was just explored and stretched, and like people's characters were stretched here and developed and kind of stabled into something. And I loved what she turned into here. There were some surprises at the end of the first book that were kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? And you did kind of end up in a cliffhanger, and it was explored here and developed further. And oh gosh, I loved the way this develops. I loved her, like this main character. Thea is very strong. She is prepared to put her country and her people above everything. And it just creates such an incredible story. I loved it. I am halfway through. Well, when I say halfway, I'm probably like almost 2/3 of the way through here. But I'm going to talk about it because I don't see it disappointing me at all. I am loving this. She is back on her home island. She's back in Austria. She is fighting for things. Like, it's just incredible to watch. Oh gosh, my dogs are barking in the background, so if you hear that, I apologize. But I just loved how, because of choices that she's had to make, people that she felt at one point were her allies have turned into something else. And she's literally got to almost argue and fight with herself and her internal feelings and emotions towards certain people and situations in order to do what's right for her people. And I really love this. This is climaxing into something incredible. I really don't think it's going to disappoint me. I will let you guys know if it does, but I very much doubt it. And I am enjoying, again, this love triangle is still sort of there. It seems to sort of be sorting itself out. We will see where it goes. But the characters, one of the things that I've loved about this series is there is such a, how do I explain this? So often you read a book, and if the LBGT community is represented, it kind of feels like a tick. Okay, that's been done. It feels so real in this book. I love how these people are just so real, with real emotions, and I feel like the characters are beautifully crafted. The story is well written, the plot is well developed, the intricacies are so much fun. I am so excited to finish reading this book and yeah, and kind of dive in. I have no idea what I'm going to touch for July just yet. I'm a bit of a mood reader, so we'll see where that goes. But anyway, guys, let me know if you've read any of these, or if you've read any other of Rita Sepetty's books that you felt were absolutely like chef's kiss. Please comment on down below. I would love to know, like, if you have any recommendations, or if you know of anybody that writes in a similar style. Like, oh my gosh, I just absolutely adored it. I know Laura Sebastian's actually got a new book coming out, Half Sick of Shadows or something like that, and I am dying to get it because it just sounds phenomenal. It's like a King Arthur retelling, which is I love retellings. Anyway, guys, that is the end of me. I will see you guys with another video next time, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please click on the like and subscribe button down below. Then at least you guys will see more of me, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.